The storm you thought would never end is already breaking. God is shifting things in your favor, but will you recognize the signs and step into the new season He has prepared for you? Have you ever felt like you've been stuck in the same storm for too long? Like no matter how hard you pray, nothing seems to change? The weight of the struggle keeps pressing down, and you start wondering if God even hears you. But what if I told you that your storm is not a sign of God's absence, but of His preparation? What if I told you that right now, at this very moment, something is shifting in the spiritual realm? The winds that once fought against you are about to propel you forward. The storm that felt like it would never end is already beginning to break. But here's the challenge. Many people miss their breakthrough simply because they don't recognize the signs. They hold on to the pain of the past so tightly that they fail to embrace the new thing God is doing. In this message, we are going to dive deep into a truth that could change everything for you. We are going to talk about what God is doing behind the scenes, why your storm had a purpose, and most importantly, how to step into the new season He is bringing your way. This is not just another message, it is a wake-up call, a divine reminder that your suffering was never in vain. God is moving. The shift is happening, and by the end of this video you will not only see your storm differently, but you will be ready to step into the breakthrough God has already prepared for you. So don't click away, don't get distracted, because what you are about to hear could be the very thing you need to walk into the promise God has for you. Let's get into it. No storm lasts forever. No matter how fierce the winds, how relentless the rain, or how deafening the thunder, every storm has an appointed time to pass. This truth is not just a natural reality, but a spiritual one as well. The challenges, trials, and hardships that seem unending in your life are not eternal. They are temporary. They may feel overwhelming now, but they have an expiration date set by God. Many believers fall into the trap of thinking their suffering will never end. When we are in the middle of a storm, it is easy to believe the lie that this is how life will always be. The enemy whispers that we will never be free from this pain, that the struggle will define us, that the night will never give way to the morning. But this is not what God has spoken over your life. The Word of God repeatedly affirms that weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Consider Job, a man who knew the depths of suffering in ways few could imagine. He lost his wealth, his family, his health, and his dignity. His friends turned against him, and his own wife told him to curse God and die. Yet, in all of this, Job remained steadfast even when he did not understand. He sat in the ashes, questioning, grieving, yet refusing to let go of his faith in God. And then, at the appointed time, the storm lifted. The suffering ended. God restored Job, giving him twice what he had lost. His storm had an expiration date, and when the season of suffering ended, a new season of blessing began. This is the promise for every child of God. Storms may come, but they will also go. What you are facing today is not your final destination. It is only a passage, a valley between two mountains, a night between two mornings. The enemy wants to convince you that the darkness is permanent, but God has already marked the moment when the clouds will break and the sun will shine again. He is not only aware of your storm, He is in control of it. Remember the disciples when they were caught in a violent storm at sea. These were experienced fishermen, men who had spent their lives on the water, yet they were terrified. They believed they were going to perish. But what they failed to remember was that Jesus was in the boat with them. They had seen His miracles, they had heard His words, but in the storm, fear overshadowed their faith. Then, in one divine moment, Jesus rose and rebuked the wind and waves with a simple command, "Peace, be still." And instantly the storm ceased. The same voice that calmed the sea then is speaking over your life now. The same authority that silenced the waves is declaring peace over your situation. Your storm is not greater than the God you serve. No matter how long it has lasted, no matter how hopeless it seems, it will not endure forever. When God says enough, it must end. When He speaks peace, the chaos must settle. What should you do in the waiting? Hold fast to your faith. Do not let despair rob you of the promise. Do not let fear make you doubt what God has already spoken. The enemy wants you to give up before the breakthrough, to quit before the storm clears. But God is saying, hold on. Watch what I will do. Trust that I am working, even in what you cannot see. Your storm is not forever. It is not your end. The pain you feel today will not be the defining mark of your life. The night is almost over, the storm is almost past, and on the other side you will stand in the light of God's faithfulness, stronger, wiser, and more certain than ever that He is the God who delivers. God does not waste anything, not even the storms in your life. The trials you face are not meaningless. They are instruments in His hands. When the winds rise and the waves crash against you, it is easy to believe that the storm is meant to destroy you, but in reality, the storm is meant to shape you. God allows storms not to break you, but to build you, to refine you, and to prepare you for what He has in store. Faith is not proven in comfort, it is proven in hardship. Anyone can trust God when the sky is clear and the path is smooth, but true faith is forged in the fire of adversity. Look at the lives of those who walk closely with God: Joseph, Moses, David, Esther, Paul. Each of them faced storms that seemed impossible to overcome. Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused and imprisoned. Moses wandered in the wilderness, rejected by his own people. David ran for his life from King Saul, hiding in caves despite having been anointed as the future king of Israel. Esther risked her life to save her people. Paul was beaten, shipwrecked, and imprisoned for the sake of the gospel. Yet in every storm, God was at work. He was shaping them, strengthening them, preparing them for greater things. God is doing the same in your life. When trials come, they reveal what is inside of you. They expose whether your faith is built on the shifting sands of circumstance or on the unshakable foundation of Christ. When everything is stripped away, when the job is lost, when the relationship falls apart, when the diagnosis is given, what remains? If your hope is in temporary things, then the storm will shake you to your core. But if your hope is in God, the storm will only draw you closer to Him. The storm is not the enemy, fear is. The disciples learned this on the sea when the waves threatened to capsize their boat. Fear gripped them because they focused on the storm instead of the one who was with them. Jesus was right there in the boat, yet they panicked as if they had been abandoned. They forgot who He was. But in the very moment they thought all was lost, Jesus stood and commanded the storm to be still, and immediately there was peace. The storm had never been stronger than His power. Their fear had simply blinded them to the truth. God works through the storm to teach us dependence on Him. If life were always easy, we would be tempted to rely on ourselves, but storms remind us that we are not in control, that our strength is not enough. They bring us to the end of ourselves so that we might lean fully on the one who never fails. They strip away our illusions of self-sufficiency and draw us into deeper intimacy with God. Suffering has a way of refining our character. Gold is purified in fire, and faith is purified in trials. Every storm you endure shapes you into the person God has called you to be. The struggle you are facing today is not wasted. It is producing something within you. Patience, endurance, wisdom, and a faith that cannot be shaken. The storm is making you stronger, preparing you for greater things. God is never absent in your pain. Even when you cannot see His hand, He is working. He is strengthening you in the struggle, deepening your faith, and setting you up for the blessings He has prepared for you. Your storm is not meaningless. It is a divine process, a refining fire, a tool in the hands of a loving God who is making you into something greater. Trust Him, even in the storm, because He is working all things for your good. Change is always preceded by signs. Just as the sky shifts before the rain, just as the winds signal the coming of a new season, so too does God reveal the approaching end of a storm in our lives. But too often, we are so consumed by the struggle that we fail to see the signs of deliverance. We cry out for breakthrough, yet when God begins to shift things, we do not recognize His hand at work. We expect our situation to change in an instant, but many times God moves in subtle ways before He moves in great ones. God never allows suffering without a purpose, and He never leaves His people in the storm longer than necessary. But there is a divine timing for every trial, and when the time of testing is over, God begins to reveal the signs of change. Sometimes it comes in the form of a renewed strength within you, the moment when the weight that once felt unbearable starts to feel lighter. Sometimes it is a door that once remained shut, slowly beginning to open. Sometimes it is a shift in your spirit, a stirring of hope where there was once only despair. These are not coincidences. They are the first glimpses of the new thing God is doing. The danger is that when we focus too much on the storm, we can become blind to the signs of breakthrough. Israel spent 400 years in slavery, crying out for deliverance, and when God raised up Moses, when the process of their freedom began, many of them doubted. They had been in bondage so long that they could not recognize the first signs of their exodus. Even after witnessing the miracles in Egypt, after walking through the Red Sea on dry ground, they still struggled to believe. They feared the wilderness more than they trusted the God who led them out. How often do we do the same? When we are so accustomed to struggle, we sometimes resist the very breakthrough we prayed for. We doubt that good things are coming because we have lived in disappointment for so long. But God is always speaking, always moving, always preparing the next step. Elijah understood this well. After a long drought, he declared that rain was coming. Yet when he sent his servant to look, there was nothing. No clouds, no wind, no sign of change. But Elijah did not waver. He sent his servant again and again, believing that something was shifting even when nothing was visible. And then, after persistent faith, the servant reported a small cloud the size of a man's hand. It was barely anything, an insignificant speck in the vast sky, but Elijah knew what it meant. He knew it was the first sign of the rain God had promised. God often moves in small signs before the full blessing arrives. He gives us glimpses, whispers, moments of unexpected peace in the middle of chaos, a sudden provision when we least expect it, a word of encouragement when we are on the verge of giving up. These are the signs that something is shifting, that the storm is breaking, that deliverance is near. But if we are not watching, if we are not expecting, we might miss them. Expectation is key. When we believe that God is moving, we start to see the signs more clearly. Instead of fixating on what has not changed, we start to notice the small shifts, the way our heart is being prepared, the way circumstances are aligning, the way doors that were once closed are now slightly ajar. This is how faith operates. It does not wait until the rain is pouring to believe. It rejoices at the first cloud in the sky. God is calling His people to wake up, to stop ignoring the signs, to lift their eyes beyond the storm. The wind is shifting, the season is changing, the night is almost over, but only those who are watching will recognize the dawn when it comes. Those who expect nothing will see nothing, but those who are watching will see the first glimmers of hope, the first movements of God's hand, the first signs that the storm is coming to an end. A new season requires a new mindset. When God brings you out of a storm, He is not just changing your situation, He is changing you. The challenge is not only to step into the new, but to leave behind the old. If your mindset remains trapped in past pain, past disappointments, and past struggles, you will not be able to fully embrace what God is doing. The greatest tragedy is not that people suffer storms. It is that some never move beyond them. They walk out of the storm physically, but mentally and spiritually they remain in bondage to what they have endured. Israel was delivered from Egypt, yet Egypt remained in their hearts. They were no longer slaves, but they still thought like slaves. They had witnessed the power of God, seen the Red Sea part, walked in divine provision, yet they still longed for the place of their captivity. When they faced challenges, they spoke of returning to Egypt, forgetting that it was the very place they had cried out to be rescued from. God was taking them to the promised land, a place of abundance and blessing, but they could not enter with an old mindset. As a result, an entire generation perished in the wilderness, not because God had not provided for them, but because they refused to believe that He was doing something new. This is the danger of stepping into a new season with an old mindset. If you carry fear, doubt, and unbelief from your storm into your breakthrough, you will resist the very thing God is giving you. When the Israelites finally stood at the edge of the promised land, they saw giants and declared that they were like grasshoppers in comparison. Their mentality had not shifted from defeat to victory. God had already promised them the land. Yet their old mindset caused them to shrink back in fear. God does not simply remove you from the storm. He uses the storm to transform you so that you can walk in the fullness of what He has prepared. Your mindset must align with His promises. If you continue to see yourself as a victim, you will never live as a conqueror. If you hold on to the pain of the past, you will struggle to embrace the joy of the future. If you focus on what was lost, you will miss what is being restored. God is not just bringing you out, He is bringing you forward. When Jesus healed the lame man at the pool of Bethesda, He did not just restore his ability to walk. He told him to take up his mat and move forward. The mat represented where he had been, the years of waiting, the place of stagnation. Jesus was not just healing his body, He was commanding him to leave behind the mindset of paralysis. The man had to choose to rise, to take action, to believe that he was no longer the same. Many people receive breakthrough but remain emotionally and spiritually crippled because they refuse to let go of their past identity. The enemy wants you to believe that what you went through defines you. He wants you to carry the baggage of the storm into your next season so that you remain stuck. But God is saying, I am doing a new thing. He is calling you to shift your thinking, to stop expecting failure, to stop rehearsing past disappointments, to start walking in faith. The new season requires new vision, new strength, and new expectation. You cannot pour new wine into old wineskins. You cannot step into a God-ordained future while clinging to a broken past. God has already declared that your storm is ending, that He is doing something new, but if you do not change your mindset, you will miss it. Let go of what was. Stop reliving the pain. Stop expecting the worst. Lift your eyes. Stand in faith. Step forward. The new is here, but you must choose to walk in it. God does not just bring you through the storm. He brings you out with purpose. When the trial ends, it is not simply about survival. It is about stepping into something greater. Every storm in a believer's life has a purpose beyond the suffering. God never allows hardship without using it for His glory and for your growth. The challenge is not only to endure the storm, but to recognize what God has built within you through it. Too many people come out of a storm weary but unchanged, relieved but not transformed. God's desire is not just to bring you through, it is to prepare you for something new, something greater, something beyond what you had before. Consider Joseph. He endured betrayal, false accusations, and imprisonment, yet when his storm ended, he did not return to where he had been. He stepped into a new position, a new authority, a new calling. The years of suffering were not wasted. They were the very process through which God shaped him for his destiny. Had Joseph remained bitter over what his brothers did to him, had he allowed anger or self-pity to consume him, he would not have been ready to step into his role as ruler in Egypt. His storm ended not just with relief, but with promotion. God is intentional. The reason you have endured what you have is because He has been preparing you. The trials you have faced were not random, they were training grounds. The pain you suffered was not in vain, it was producing wisdom, strength, and endurance within you. When the storm ends, you cannot remain the same. You cannot return to the mindset of who you were before. There must be a shift, a recognition that what you went through was not just about you. It was about what God is calling you to next. Israel did not leave Egypt empty-handed. When God delivered them, they left with the wealth of their oppressors. They walked out of slavery not just with freedom, but with provision for the journey ahead. God does not bring His people through battles without giving them something to carry into the next season. What have you gained from your storm? Has your faith deepened? Has your character been refined? Has your perspective shifted? These are the treasures God gives in the midst of trials, but you must recognize them. If you walk out of the storm only looking at what you lost, you will miss what you have gained. One of the enemy's greatest strategies is to make you believe that your suffering was wasted. He wants you to think that all you did was survive. But God is saying, I have been preparing you. You are not the same person who entered the storm. You have been strengthened, molded, and refined by the fire. The very things that were meant to destroy you have equipped you for the next level of your calling. The enemy tried to break you, but God used it to build you. Now, as the storm ends, you must step forward with confidence, knowing that you have been prepared for something new. Peter's failure in denying Christ could have left him crippled by shame, but Jesus restored him and commissioned him to feed his sheep. Paul's imprisonment could have been the end of his ministry, but instead, it became the place where he wrote letters that continue to impact the church today. What the enemy meant for harm, God used for good. That is the pattern of the kingdom. The storm does not end with emptiness. It ends with new purpose. Now is the time to walk boldly into what God has for you. Do not let the memory of the storm keep you from stepping into the blessing. Do not let the wounds of the past hold you back from the doors God is opening. Do not simply celebrate the end of the struggle, celebrate the beginning of something greater. You did not just survive, you have been transformed. And now, it is time to walk forward in the purpose for which God has prepared you. God does not allow storms without purpose, and He does not bring you through them without preparing you for something greater. The trials you have faced were not meant to break you, but to shape you. The pain you endured was not wasted. It was refining you for the new season God is leading you into. The signs of breakthrough are already around you if you have the faith to see them. The shift is happening. The storm is ending, but to step into what God has for you, you must leave behind the mindset of the past, refuse to live in fear, and walk boldly in the confidence that He is making all things new. This is not just about relief from hardship, it is about stepping into transformation. Just as Joseph moved from the prison to the palace, just as Israel walked out of slavery with the wealth of Egypt, just as Peter rose from failure into leadership, God is bringing you out stronger, wiser, and ready for greater things. The enemy wanted you to stay trapped in fear, doubt, and discouragement. But God has been working behind the scenes to position you for something beyond what you imagine. Now is the time to open your eyes, lift your head, and embrace the new thing God is doing. Let go of the past, walk in faith, and step into the destiny He has prepared for you. Your storm is not just ending, your purpose is beginning. The best is yet to come. Thank you for allowing me to share this word with you today. I pray that you walk forward with faith, strength, and expectation, knowing that God is faithful and He is working all things together for your good. May His presence guide you, His promises sustain you, and His purpose be fulfilled in your life. God bless you.